Hey guys, back another week. Thought I'd make another skirmish diary, especially because this time I actually have some good news, unlike last week. This week I won two more skirmishes. These skirmishes were a little bit on the smaller scale. One had 12 players and the other one had 8 players, but they still had some pretty decent players. I think I was favored to win based on attendance, but it's always nice to still get there, and there was still like a decent number of difficult matchups for me to go through. And I got 2 victories, so now I'm sitting with a nice comfortable 4 skirmish victories, 4 playmats, feeling good. Got a whole pod of Blitzcrank playmats now. So January 21st, this is just the Nexus night. It was last Wednesday. Round 1, played against an Ari. I could have won, but I decided to play around. Time Warp game 3 when realistically I shouldn't have. He'd only drawn through maybe like a third to half of his deck, and I was not even sure that he was running Time Warp that game. He started with Blue Ari in the chosen champ zone, and I know he's like slightly biased towards being like an aggressive Ari list. He said that he does have Time Warp in his sideboard that he did side in for game 2, but he didn't have it in his deck for game 3. So I should have just played assuming that he didn't have it, because when I was like talking out my line, I was just saying like, if he has Time Warp I lose, so I should try to stop him. And like realistically, me trying to stop him from winning from Time Warp, like it didn't even stop him from winning from Time Warp anyways, because he just had so many tricks up still. So I should have just played like as if he didn't have it, and I would have been fine. I would have won that game pretty easily. The second set was against a set. This player was super new, so it wasn't really indicative of the set matchup. I still think the set matchup is pretty difficult for Victor. But yeah, pretty clean, easy 2-0. The third set was against an Annie player. This Annie was the one that won the skirmish from last Saturday. Game 1 was pretty close. I can't remember too much of what happened then. But game 2, he had like maybe the worst draw I've like ever seen ever. He was going first, and he like played Vi turn 1. I like called a weak recruit, and then turn 2, he passed. He didn't have anything with 3 runes up. I like ran my recruit in and it got gusted, but like I didn't really care that much, because like I was able to develop in base still. And then like his turn 3, he played like unaccelerated Kaisa to base, and then I just like called weaked it again with my second call weak, and then like at that point like you can't even win that game as Annie. So I like lucked out a little bit there, but that's something that you're gonna be able to like be blessed with. Other decks can face like inconsistency issues, and Annie is one of those decks. Sometimes they draw in the wrong order and they just lose. So that's like one benefit playing the Annie matchup. It's like sometimes inconsistent, so you can leverage that occasionally and get free wins. So that one I went 2-1 that next night. On Thursday, I had another summoner skirmish. It was like after work, started like 6:30 p.m., which is pretty horrible. But it was 4-round Swiss. I ended up going 3-1, which was like fine, but I wasn't super happy with it. The first round I played against a Victor player. This Victor player was actually like quite decent. I'd never seen him in like any of my previous meetups, but I think he just goes to like different game stores for me. He was pretty decent. He was running a list that was very similar to like the Dokebi or the Cody Williams list, where it was like running multiple Watchers and Riptides, and it was like definitely leaning more towards blue. No seals, stuff like that. Machine Evangel, stuff like that. I still think the list is like fine. That list still loses to my list though, I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure my list just gets under it. And like Hidden Blade just like kills Watcher. Watcher's like a complete liability in this matchup if I have any Hidden Blades up. And Watcher, like realistically, like is Watcher even more effective than like a Sprite or like a Vanguard attendant in the Victor mirror? Like not really. The next set was against another set. I 2-0'd him again. Okay, so this is a different set, but this guy was also like quite new. I'd never seen him before. I think he's maybe only gone to like 2 or 3 meetups ever, so he was also relatively new. He missed a bunch of triggers. I think he missed like a Soaring Scout death trigger. He missed a bunch of other stuff, so it was like a little bit unfortunate. yeah, I wasn't like really too worried about that. Round three, I played against Kaisa player. This Kaisa player has my goddamn number, man. Like this Kaisa player I've played a bunch of times and I always have a lot of difficulty with. Um, it was like actually after the set that I changed up my sideboard. So my sideboard now, like from this point forward, like January 22nd onwards, I cut the Ledros that was still in the list and the Noxian Drummer for 2 Watchers. So that's like mainly meant for the Kaisa matchup, and we'll talk about it a little bit more because I played a little bit more against Kaisa on Sunday. Fourth round was against set player. This guy is like quite good at the game, but he's like a relatively new set pilot, so he mostly plays Yasuo. So this one I wasn't like too worried about. Set is still a difficult matchup, even though I've 2-0'd set 3 times in a row. I still think it's like a relatively difficult matchup. We played another best of 3 afterwards for the fun of it, and he did 2-0 me in the, like the for fun best of 3. So this matchup is like definitely still losable. One thing, like some of the things I was learning is like you definitely want Watcher in this matchup. Singularity is like not actually that great in this matchup. Set Kingpin goes to 7, and in the sideboard they are gonna run like Imperial or Unyielding Spirit and Unyielding Spirit and Sabotage, you know. So those types of cards really poop on Singularity a little bit. You do want to like rely a little bit more on Imperial Decree and Grand Stratagem for this matchup, as well as like Riptide Rex and Watcher, the kind of the slower package. Set has like a really hard time dealing with like a ton of bodies, so it's kind of like the playing against green lists where they just can't remove like a bunch of recruits. You can just develop onto board pretty easily and get away with it, and then just run your big spells like Decree and Stratagem, and they don't really have counterplay to it. They kind of just die. They don't have counter spells. They don't play enough units to get over Decree, and you can just win this one. So I think it's winnable. The main deck is definitely not super favored for this set matchup though. So I went 3-1 at the skirmish, ended up 3rd place out of 10 players. It's fine, not great. Next we have 24th was Saturday. It was another skirmish. This one only had 8 players, so nothing too crazy. All the players I played against were like quite decent though. There were like slightly less experienced players there, but I didn't really match into any of them. So it was just a clean 3-round Swiss since we had 8 players. We didn't do like any top cut or anything. So round 1 I played set again. So this is actually the same set that I played in round 4 of the Thursday skirmish. And this time it was 2-1. Really close game. I think he like missed his 2-drop on the Grove, on his like Grove game. And I had like Call of the Week for the next drop that came. Oh no, I didn't have Call of the Week, but he was trying to play around Call of the Week, mistakenly, probably. Well, in my opinion, it was a mistake to play around Call of the Week. But the problem is, if he doesn't play around Call of the Week and I have it, he does like instantly lose the game. And like he still like had a fighting chance after playing around Call of the Week for a turn. I still think it's a mistake because like once you miss your 2-drop, you're kind of in a desperate situation already when you're playing Grove the Godwill. So yeah, it happens. The second round was against Misfortune. Like, bro, this matchup is so horrible for Misfortune. There's like nothing Misfortune can do to win this matchup. I was like going back through the stats. I'm pretty sure my win rate into Misfortune, my game win rate into Misfortune, I think I'm 18-2 or something like that. My game win rate. My match win rate, I think I'm 10-0 or something like that. So it's like a pretty real matchup. You really shouldn't be losing to this. Like, this is the way you play this matchup is you just like are an absolute fiend for points. You get points as early as possible. If your opponent's trying to deny you through Gust and Fight or Flight, like you will want to be using Sprite Mothers to get additional points. They can't effectively remove bodies. You only move in with one body because their bodies are big enough to just like run over you anyways. If you can, on the turn that they play Aurora, you want to move all your units off the battlefield so that they can't Deadbloom. They'll like Deadbloom to base and they'll be really sad and you'll feel like an absolute genius. So that's like the one tip I have for Aurora. Third round was against Master Yi. This Master Yi player has like destroyed me every single time we played, and I like randomly 2-0'd him here. Game 1 I played War Camp, and then I think he played Valmaz, and I literally just developed everything onto War Camp. I held there. I was holding there with like 30 might by the end of the game. All you need to do, and I won the die roll, which was nice. So I got to stay like a little bit ahead in tempo. You only need to clear them off and score the other battlefield once to be like in a really, really, really comfortable position. So it'd be something like they conquered a 3, you hold to 4. So like you're on one battlefield, they're on the other battlefield, right? They like conquer or like hold to 3 and you're at 3, you'll like hold to 4. If you can kill their unit, you'll like score to 5. They can remove this and they'll score to 4, and then you hold to 6 next turn. And the point gap is so large that it's like really, really, really hard. They're like absolutely forced to take this battlefield out whatsoever, and you don't even need to look at this battlefield for the rest of the game. You just play like Faithful Manufactor, Vanguard Captain, Recruit, Daring Pour on top. Turns where you like really need to get through that one turn, you play like Sprite Mother on top, and just chill on that battlefield for the rest of the game, basically. Yi like does not have a great way of running in, like especially into War Camp, because the numbers on War Camp are just so big. Like Mastery's best ways are like White Flame Protector and Primal Strength, but if he's running say like a 2-drop and he plays White Flame Protector on top of it, it's like 10 might. He like runs in. If you have like 35 might on that battlefield, you go down to 25, and then next turn you just push it back up to 35. They're like White Flame Primal Strength, go to 15, you go down to 20, and then next turn you're back to 30. And they just like don't have enough gas to get through, and you just continuously develop on that. And if they completely abandon the other battlefield, you always just take it over. Something like 1 recruit in base, and then Hidden Blade run in. Like there's always the threat that something's coming. Like you can Hidden Blade Sprite Mother and run into there. So they still have to be like mindful of the other battlefield. So that's kind of the route I've been taking with Mastery. The second game he played Grove, and then he missed his 2-drop, and then he played Kiana, and I called weaked it, and then the game was over. He played another Kiana the following turn, and I called the weak, and he defied. And like at that point, it still doesn't even matter. He just like ran onto the other battlefields because I had too many units on Grove already by that point because it was turn 3, and he just couldn't take over Grove for the rest of the game. I just held there with like infinite units and just held up Facebreaker and Shen in case he ever ran in with anything crazy. If he's like looking to go in on Primal Strength, use the hold like Hidden Blade or Facebreaker, and there's like not too much that Master can do. He can't break in. Like he needs to break in with like multiple runs of units, and if you're controlling Grove, you have like infinite resources, so you're never really too worried about it. So I won this skirmish. It was really nice. I got like $60 store credit, bought a couple packs, and then got my mat. Then there was a Nexus night that night at 7 p.m. So this was 4-round Swiss. The winner, 14 players total. The winner gets a box of Spirit Forged once the set drops, which was super hype. I love the store. The store is like hosts some really cool events. They did like a sealed event a few weeks ago, which is super sick. So it was 4-round Swiss. I went 3-0 and then drew with my last opponent, so we would split the box. So he got 12 packs, I got 12 packs, and they'll be waiting for us once Spirit Forge drops, which is super sick. Super happy about it. Yeah. Quickly go through the matchups. So round 1 was against Jinx. It was like a hyper aggro Jinx. Slightly like removal biased with Phoenix, Immortal Phoenix in it. It was pretty cool. I lost game 1 because I'm an idiot. I didn't play around Vi Ride the Wind even though it was at 6 points because he's not Annie. So I just like didn't even think about it. So like I'm an idiot. I could have played around it. He literally untapped with 4 mana. I could have just had 1 unit on a battlefield. I had Hidden Blade in hand. I could have just hit it and I would have won. But it's my fault. Not gonna happen again. Not gonna lose that again. Games 2 and 3 were like actually surprisingly close. Well, game 2 was not close, but game 3 was like relatively close. He's like surprisingly strong. It feels like a really shitty Annie, but you know Annie's a difficult matchup. So yeah, props to that guy. He's trying to make Jinx work. I respect it. I respect the grind. Round 2 was against an Annie player. This Annie player was like super new. He missed a couple triggers. I think he missed like a hold point in game 1, which like maybe mattered. And he might have missed another trigger or two in game 2. So it was a little unfortunate, but he's like super new to Annie. I think he didn't have any Kaisas, so I wasn't like too worried about it. And it was a pretty swift 2-0. We finished in like 20 minutes or something. Round 3 was against a Kaisa player. This guy is not like normally a Kaisa player. I think he normally plays like Yasuo, Victor, and like Volibear Aurora, which is hilarious. So he's like a relatively new Kaisa pilot, and he told me that he like doesn't run retreat, which I think is like really, really incorrect. And so what happened is like anytime I tried to remove his units, they would just die, and I'd be like, huh, that's a new experience. You know, I'm so used to like call the weak Kaisa and then she just retreats and I just sack my own unit and they get to ramp for free. I'm used to that, and that never happens. So this matchup was like really easy. This is like the first time I was playing with Riptide and Watcher as like Kaisa answers, and just like playing this matchup a lot slower, just trying to make sure their board's clean and I am like well established on the board, where it's like really, really awkward for a Cathian Rain to remove stuff. Like Riptide Rex is like quite significant because he takes 3 ticks of a Cathian Rain and he also kills something. You can play him directly onto battlefield, like onto a battlefield that you control, to fortify it, and then just like hold Hidden Blade or like hide Hidden Blade where Riptide is, and then it's like pretty significant and pretty difficult for Kaisa to get over it. Like if they accelerate Watcher into it and you Hidden Blade the Watcher, you're like untapping with all your mana up and you're holding an extra point, and the other battlefield is like relatively weak because they invested the Watcher to try and kill your board. It's like quite good. And then Watcher obviously is really, really good into Kaisa because Kaisa doesn't really have any defensive answers for Watcher. So yeah, I was like really, really happy with putting 2 Watchers into the sideboard. So like when I was playing against Kaisa, I sided out the 3 Decrees and I just put in the 2 Watchers and the Riptide. So my deck ended up being 3 Singularity, 3 Singularity, 2 Watcher, 2 Riptide, and it was good. It's like really, really, really close to the Cody Williams / Dokkepi version of the list, except I'm running like 2 Seals and 3 Vanguard Captains instead of their like Machine Evangels and Lecturing Oils, which means like my list is like slightly more vulnerable to removal, but I can swarm the board like a little bit easier if they're if they spend a bunch of removal. Like say they Cathian ran me a turn, and they don't really have many units behind, I can just like put multiple units out, including Vanguard Captain, and like completely swarm the board. Like if he's killing 3 or 4 units with a Cathian Ram, I can put 5 units back onto the board. If I play 6 units back, I put 5 units back on the board if I go 2-drop Vanguard Captain Recruit, which is more than what they killed. So I think my list now that I've adjusted it is pretty reasonable into Kaisa. I'm like slightly more comfortable moving into Kaisa in the future, but we'll see. I haven't played against too many Kaisas yet with this new version. January 25th, Sunday. It was another skirmish with 12 players total. It was a 4-round Swiss with the top 4 cut. I went 3-0 in Swiss, and then, well, 3-0-1 in Swiss. I drew last round to guarantee first seed because my breakers were really good, as you can see. And then I won pretty convincingly in top 4. Round 1 was against a set. This sub player was again really, really new. I don't know where all these random set players are just popping up out of nowhere, but I can't believe in my past 4 events I've played against like 5 or 6 sets, and I've probably played against like 5 or 6, like I think up to this point I've played against like 3 sets. So I don't know where all these sets are coming from, but it's interesting getting the matchup experience right at the end of the season. This matchup was like this one was pretty reasonable. The second, like the round 2 opponent set, he's like getting a lot more experienced with the set matchup. He only started showing up to locals maybe like maybe like about a month ago, and he's gotten a lot better at piloting set. So it was actually quite a difficult matchup, and I'm trying to pilot it better. The Watchers are really helpful. I'm super thankful that I ended up putting Watchers back to the sideboard, because it helps with a lot of like the worst matchups, like the matchups that I was sacrificing a little bit with the Seal list, which would be Kaisa Yi and Kaisa Yi set. Watcher really helps fix those matchups a bit. And I think Watcher is like legitimately the reason why I was able to take these 2 skirmishes on Saturday or on this weekend. So it was really good. Round 3 was against Misfortune. I just keep getting matched up against these Aurora guys and just putting them out of their miseries, man. Like, this matchup is so horrible. I think like game 1, it was I won the die roll. I played Arena's Greatest. Like, I played Arena's Greatest just game 1 just because I'm only running the 3 decrees. Games 2 and 3, I'm gonna be able to run decree and the 3 decrees and the 1 stratagem. So I decided like I should have a little bit more gas in their aspirants game if they end up running it games 2 or 3. I might as well play Arena's Greatest game 1 just in case to play aspirants so that I can win more easily. They ended up not doing that. They played Obelisk, and then I played Arenas, and I won the die roll. So that game was like really not close, not very close. They like played Aurora, dropped Deadbloom. I just called a week to the next turn, and it was like pretty clean victory. Game 2, kind of the same thing. There's not really too much to talk about. This, as long as I have 2 units coming out of my hand on turn 1, whether it be Faithful Manufacturer or Seal Vanguard Captain or 2-drop Recruit, like any of those I'm super happy with. Even if it does end up being only 1 unit, like say I play like a Noxian Drummer or something and I have Sprite Mother in hand, like that is also fine. I'm just still conquering 2 on the first turn, so nothing too crazy. This matchup's super easy. And then drew into top 4. Game 1 was against Annie. So this Annie player, he's like he's been playing Annie for a long time, but he's not like a super great pilot at the deck, and his deck is actually tuned to beat Annie, like specifically. And he was the only Annie at the event, so it was like kind of unfortunate. But you know, if you're tuning your deck to beat Annie, like you're not going to be able to beat Victor. So I kind of just ran over him, and it was not particularly close. It was really swift. I think I beat him in 2 games before the other table was done, like turn 4 of game 1. Like it was a swift victory. We started like maybe 5 minutes before they did because one of them went to the washroom. But yeah, that was interesting. Finals was against the Yasuo. This guy's like this guy's the set player from like the previous couple skirmishes. He's a good player, and he was playing Yasuo this time, so he was playing like the deck that he's actually more experienced with. The more I play this matchup, the more I think, yeah, this probably is Victor favored, and it's probably like pretty significantly Victor favored, like probably closer to like the 60-40 range than the 55-45 that I put in the tier list video. But you know, it's still like somewhat close. Like Yasuo still has interesting things that he can do. Like Mind Splitter is a really good card. I lost game 2 because he ripped a Mind Splitter and took out Singularity, and then the following turn I drew Singularity, and then he played another Mind Splitter and then ripped the other Singularity as well. And that's the only reason I lost, because he had multiple Mind Splitters ripping Singularity from my hand. Watcher is like surprisingly decent in this matchup. I was like really scared of Fight or Flight, just nullifying the Watcher, but I think the typical Yasuo list, like the Galeone's Yasuo list, runs only 2 Fight or Flights, I think. And it's like possible for them to side them out based on the matchup. And because I don't know like how necessary Fight or Flight is for the Victor matchup, like from a Yasuo's perspective, like I don't know how much they value Fight or Flight in that matchup. So there's a chance they could go like they could stay at 2 or like even go down a little bit. So Watcher was like surprisingly good in this matchup. But yeah, so I won this skirmish too. It felt pretty good. I was always like pretty confident going in. There was one like Kaisa player that's really good that I was like kind of scared of, but it worked out. There was some like unfortunate miscommunication where we thought it was top 8 cut, and then he like drew to guarantee 4th or 5th, and he ended up 5th, and then it ended up being a top 4 cut, so he got eliminated. But a little unfortunate, but it was nice for me because I got to dodge the Kaisa matchup, and I was like a little bit worried about that one because that player is really good. And then yesterday I played another Nexus Knight. This one was like pretty normal. Not like too many great players showed up. but you know, I like to cover the Nexus Knights as well, just for fun. The first round was against Annie player. I think it was the first time he was playing Annie, and it was like surprisingly close. It was a little awkward, but you know, 2-0. It was pretty swift. He misplayed like crazy, like a ton. And then like, you know, if he didn't misplay, I like probably would have lost the game. Like, I think game 2 he like attacked his Kaisa, and then like I had a unit on the other board. Plays Ride the Wind and rides the wind home. I'm like, okay, like I'm not gonna stop you, right? So, yeah. Game set 2 was against Leona. This one was like surprisingly difficult. Jeez, I was scared. I lost game 2. I was like kind of worried. Game 3, if he had another Zenith Blade, I would have lost for sure. Set Kingpin is like really strong because Leona gets a buff onto him really easily and can protect him with like Defy, Discipline, stuff like that like normal set can't. I like really needed to draw more like decrees and stratagems, I think, to be comfortable with the game, but it ended up working out. Thankfully, if I lost to Leona, that'd be a little bit embarrassing. Round 3 was against Annie player. This Annie player is like pretty experienced with Annie, but her like deck is not perfect. It's like a little bit more of a budget list. So she runs like a copy or 2 of Vayne over Kaisa. I think she only runs 1 Kaisa currently. So not too bad. There's like one lesson learned in game 2. I should have won game 2. What happened is like I was on one battlefield with Sprite Mother and Recruit with a hidden Facebreaker, and then I was at 6 points, and I had Sprite Mother and base and a Sprite on the other battlefield with a hidden Consult the Past, and I had another Facebreaker in hand, and like looking back, I should have hid the Facebreaker instead, just like guarantee that if she ended up trying to run in with an accelerated unit, I'd be able to bounce it back and then conquer with the Sprite Mother in to win the following turn. But instead I hid Consult the Past because the idea was basically my deck has so many answers, there's no way I'm not going to draw something that's good, right? Like I have Hidden Blade, I have Call of the Week, I have Singularity, I have Imperial Decree doesn't really win, but I think I have 1 copy of Decree. Like Decree gets there, right? Like Vanguard Attendant kills it. But what ended up happening was like Darius walks in. It was like Darius stack deck or something like that. Runs into the Sprite. I play Consult the Past. I draw Vanguard Captain and Daring Poro, and then she like conquers the 7. I hold the 7 and I top deck like a drummer or something like that. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I just lost. There's just nothing left for me to do. So it was a little awkward. I shouldn't have lost that game. I should have just hit a Facebreaker. It's lesson learned. Like, I was worried about, like, you know, oh, the Sprite expires, temporary trigger, and then, like, my Facebreaker is wasted. But it's like, it's not wasted. Because the fact that I had access to it the previous turn was the value from the Facebreaker. So, a little bit of lesson learned. But I won game 3 pretty cleanly. Nothing too worried about it. Like, Call to Glory was, like, hilarious. She, like, accelerated Kaisa with no mana up, and I just like Call to Glory my Recruit and they trade. Happy days. But yeah, I think that's all the results. Yeah, those are all the games I played in the past week or so. Super happy. I'm on a 15 game win rate, 15 game win streak. See, 1, 2, 3. This is another 5. There's another 3. There's another 3, and then there's a loss right here. So 1, 4, 7, 12, 15. I'm on a 15 game win streak. Holy crap. Pretty good. I'm really happy with how the list is turning out. The extra watchers in the sideboard are so much better. Like having Ledros eating up sideboard slots explicitly for the Kaisa matchup, when Watcher is like basically just as good, arguably better into the Kaisa matchup than Ledros is, and then he's also good into like the other bad matchups I have, like Master Yi and Set. So I think I was a little bit ignorant on the Watcher in the sideboard. Really happy with how the list is right now. I'll put the deck list in the description again for you guys to check out. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed.